Good evening, everyone, and happy Heart Month. And one of the things that I absolutely love to do within our Red Heart Mamas group is to share other survivor stories. Um, I find a lot of inspiration in them. And I love to meet other women who have not only learned, they didn't just survive, but they've learned how to thrive past that there is life after, and get to know them a little bit better. Back in August of 2019, I had the privilege of being, I guess, inducted is the right word, into the Survivors Have Heart program with a celebrity fitness trainer and a fellow survivor, Bob Harper, who has to be the best smelling man I've ever met. I don't know what cologne that man wears, but I tell you, it is incredible. Every time I'm around him, I'm just like, what are you wearing? But I got to meet other survivors, and one person in that group that I just and we're going to share a little bit. But I remember as we were all sharing our stories, you hear other people's experiences and you relive your own. It becomes so real to you at that moment, and it's a bit overwhelming. But as I've gotten to know Dr. Tamikia Greene over these last few years, since that time back in August of 2019, seems so long ago now, um, I have seen what a true champion she is. And so it is my privilege tonight to introduce um, Dr. Tamikia Greene to you. In my introduction of you, it 2019, it just seems like time has just flown so fast. Even with the pandemic, it just time's gone by fast.
I know. I was just thinking, wow, it's been almost 3 years. When we first met, I was just 3 months out of my heart attack. So everything was very overwhelming at that time. So, wow, yeah, it's been a minute. It seems like it's been a very long time, but it's only been 3 years, almost 3 years for me.
Yeah, almost 3 years, and so much has happened in just that short time span. But before we get into your story, I want to know a little bit more about you. We were chatting before we came online, and so we want to get to know a little bit more about you. Where you're from, where you grew up, are you married? Do you have kids? What do you do for a living? So tell us a little bit more about you, Tamikia.
Okay. So I am actually from Charlotte. I think I'm the last person that's been born and raised and still here in Charlotte. I've been here all my life. I am married to my wonderful husband and soulmate and best friend, Will Green. And we have four beautiful children. We have Jarvis, my oldest son, then we have Jasmine, Cameron, and Julian. And what I've done for a living in my profession, my background is in mental health and substance use. I'm a licensed clinician providing therapy for mental health as well as substance use. I've done that for the last 25 years, been in that particular field. My current place of employment, I am assistant health director at Mecklenburg County Public Health, where we promote education and protecting our community. Been doing a lot of that these years, last 2 years with COVID, so been very busy with that. Um, and then on my personal time, what I like to do is cook, spend time with my friends and family, and do a lot of travel. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
That's a big nutshell. So personal question, and I know you mentioned your husband Will, and you all are very involved with your church, and that brings on a whole other set of duties, that's involved in that. But how old were you when you had your heart attack back in 2019?
I was 48.
Oh my gosh!
Yes,
And I know
48.
they walked in the room and they said, "That's too
Oh
young,
yeah.
right?"
Yeah, there was like, no, there's no way you had a heart attack. And I was telling them there's no way that I had a heart attack. You have to be joking, right? Like this is the worst joke you can play on somebody. But yeah, at my age, I did have a heart attack.
So walk us through the story. I mean, when did you have a family history of early heart disease?
So at the time, I didn't think I did. So I'll just start by telling my story. So um, back in May 2019, I got up as usual, started my day with my morning workout, headed to the gym at 5:30 in the morning. I finished my workout at 6:30 in the morning. I'm doing boot camp, kind of like CrossFit. And I was leaving the gym. I grabbed my jacket with my left arm, and my left arm just went limp. And I'm like, that's weird. So I got in the car, and it was so limp that I couldn't even really drive home using my left hand. I had to drive home with my right hand. So I got home, and my husband's like, well, how was your workout? I said, it was great. I said, but I'm extremely tired, and my left arm kind of went limp. And he was like, well, you did just do boot camp. Maybe it was the push ups, the pull ups. I was like, yeah. I said, but I'm feeling very, very tired. And he was like, well, that's normal too. I said, no, it's out of the ordinary. So he calls my mother in law, who's a nurse, told her my symptoms. And she's like, yeah, you should probably go to the doctor and get that checked out. And, me being the superwoman that I am, I said, no, I'm going to go take a nap and then I'm going to get up and go to work. So I did that, woke up, I felt totally fine, went to work. But throughout the day, I just felt really, really tired. And I'm like, okay, it's 11 o'clock in the morning. I finished working out at 6:30 and I feel like I'm just got through running a marathon. Like, what's really going on? So I called one of the nurses where I work, because I work in public health, and I say, hey, this is what happened this morning. And I'm still feeling really, really tired. My arm is fine. I don't have any other symptoms. I said, but I'm just exhausted. And she's like, well, maybe you should go see your doctor. And again, I'm going, no, I don't have really time to do that. I think I'm going to go home and actually take a nap. And she was like, well, I would highly recommend you just call your doctor just to see, if they can fit you in to see if there's something else going on. And so, long story short, with my doctor is actually about to retire. So she has very minimal amount of hours. And I rationalized with myself. I said, okay, I'm going to call the doctor's office. But if my doctor can't see me, I'm not going. I'll take some Tylenol, I'll go home and lay down. So lo and behold, I called and they had an appointment. So I was like, okay, somebody's looking out for me and want me to go to this doctor. So I went to the doctor. I told her all of my symptoms and kind of what happened. I said, well, I'm just really extremely tired. My arm is fine. And she was like, that doesn't sound normal for you. And I was like, yeah, I think I just pulled a muscle in my chest because my chest was feeling a little sore as well. So she said, let me look back through your chart. She didn't see anything in my blood work over the last several years. She did an EKG. The EKG was normal. She's like, wow, I don't see anything wrong with you. She said, you look perfectly fine. She said, you don't have any symptoms now. You're just telling me that you're tired. And I'm like, yeah, I'm tired. And she's like, well, I know you and I'm not going to send you home. I was like, okay, so what are we doing? She's like, I'm going to send you to the emergency room for a test that I can't do in my office. I was like, oh no, I am definitely not going to the emergency room. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'll be there all day and I have plans. I can't be over there all night. She was like, well, I'm sorry, you can't leave my office on your own. You're not going to be able to drive yourself there. Either we're going to call an ambulance for you or you're going to have to get somebody to take you. And I'm like, whoa, I come in here because I'm tired and you're telling me I need to go to the hospital and I can't drive myself. I drove myself over here. Like, what are we talking about here? So I had to call my husband. I said, hey, can you come and get me and take me to the hospital? He was like, the hospital? Why are you going to the hospital? You're already at your doctor's office. I said, well, she's telling me I need another test that she can't do in the office and they won't let me leave. So he comes, takes me to the hospital. And of course, when we get there, I'm like, okay, we're going to be here for hours. It's the emergency room. As soon as I get there, they're saying, Miss Greene, we're ready for it. I'm like, oh, wow, that was quick. Get there, tell them what happened. They do another EKG, find nothing. And she was like, wow, I don't see anything wrong. We'll just put you in a room and wait for the doctor. I'm like, okay, so we probably won't be here that long because I feel fine. There's nothing wrong. I'm just really tired. I had a hard workout this morning. So the doctor comes in. I tell him everything that happened. He says, well, we're going to run some blood work. And I said, okay. He did some blood work. He said, it shouldn't take long. And he said, I'm looking at your paperwork. You're healthy. I'm looking in the system. You're healthy. You work out, you this, and everything's fine. I'm sure it's probably nothing major. And I was like, oh, okay. So 2 hours passed and I'm going, okay, he should have been back by now. Like, what's going on? He comes back in the room and he says, well, I really don't know how to tell you this. And I'm going like, tell me what? He said, this morning at 6:30, and now it's probably like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. He said, you had a heart attack. And I was like, a heart attack? No, I didn't have a heart attack. He said, yeah, that's what took me so long. I ran the test twice and you have enzymes that are continue to build up in your heart. And yeah, you had a heart attack this morning. And I'm still going, I'm in denial. And I look at my husband because he's there and I'm like, I had a heart attack. And he was like, no, she didn't have a heart attack. We're arguing with the doctor. She did not have a heart attack. He was like, yeah, you did. And now we're going to have to explore more to see how much damage your heart sustained. I'm like, damage? Like, no, like I need to leave. It's dinner time and I have plans. I'm making all these plans. And he was like, no, we're actually going to transfer you to another hospital to see how much damage was done to your heart. And I said, okay, wait a minute. If there was some damage, like what are my options here? He said, well, it sounds like it's probably nothing major because you're healthy. You'll probably just get a stent and then you'll leave within 24 hours. I said, oh, okay. And I said, well, what's the alternative? He said, well, if it's not where we can stent it and the damage is further, we'll have to prepare you for open heart surgery. I was like, what? Open heart surgery? I come in here because I'm tired. You tell me I had a heart attack and I may end up with open heart surgery. He said, well, that's worst case, but you're fine. You're healthy. So I'm going, wow, this is serious. At this point, I'm emotional. I'm not leaving here. I'm going to the hospital. I'm thinking about my kids. I'm thinking about my family, my life. Go to the other hospital. They do the procedure where they put the dye in your vein to see where the damage is. And then the doctor wakes me up and he was like, hey, I want to show you something. And I was like, okay, this big screen where I'm looking at my heart. He said, this is where the blockage is. I said, oh, I had a blockage. He was like, yeah. And I said, well, did you fix it? He's like, no, unfortunately, where it's located, you're not a candidate for a stent. And I was like, well, what am I a candidate for? He was like, we got to prepare you for open heart surgery. And I was like, at that point, I lost it. I'm going, I am a healthy woman. I work out. I eat right. I meal prep. Like I am not understanding what's going on. So long story short, as I'm sitting in the hospital on a Friday night, waiting to have surgery on Monday because my status wasn't as worse as other people who were coming in who needed that surgery. So they kept bumping me from Saturday to Sunday to Monday because other people were more critical than I were. I had family members coming into my hospital room telling me, oh yeah, your cousin so-and-so on your grandmother's side, who's a female, she had a heart attack giving birth to twins. I'm like, what? Oh yeah, your cousin so-and-so died at age 30 something of a heart attack. And I'm going, what? So to answer your question, long story short, yes, I was genetically predispositioned to have heart issues that I had no idea about because our family never talked about it. Our family never shared our health history. So that's one of the big reasons why I advocate today that we need to know our health history, not just my health history, but our family's health history, especially in the African American community. We don't talk about stuff like that. We just don't until worst case scenario, when something's about to happen or something has happened, is when we actually share kind of our health history with each other. So yeah, that's something that we need to do more of, is talk about, what's going on in our family.
You remind me of so many, including myself, female survivors that when we're going through it, it's like, nah, it's a virus. It's something I ate. But that extreme tiredness, I'm glad you keyed in on that. But that extreme fatigue is probably one of the worst symptoms that women have. And we report to the doctor. I'm glad your doctor didn't. But a lot of doctors will just, we blame it on other things.
Yes.
Menopause, working too much, working
Yep.
out too hard, not getting enough sleep, low iron or something. And, but your body when it's just not functioning well. So you didn't, you didn't have any high cholesterol.
No.
Okay. You didn't have any high blood pressure.
No.
I mean, you were doing CrossFit for Pete's sake.
You're right.
I mean, that is not mama's, aerobics. That's CrossFit. And so how often were you working out?
4 to 5 days a week.
Wow.
And you know what the doctor told me? He said, if it wasn't for me doing CrossFit and working out as hard as I was working out, I probably never would have had the warning sign. I probably would have had a heart attack and died. He said, because I was working out so hard and I had a blockage and my body was trying to tell me that something was wrong. He said, but if you wouldn't have been doing boot camp and just doing everyday life, one day you would have had 100% blockage. It would have just happened to you. He said, but your body gave you warning signs. So thank goodness you were working out because it gave you an opportunity to go to your provider. And, my doctor, she saved my life because I told her, I said, you need to just send me home. Let me take some ibuprofen. I'm feeling fine. I'm just tired. And she was like, no, sister,
no,
I'm not sending you home.
I tell you, you are so blessed that one, you listen to Will and you went to the doctor, but you started the conversation with, she had limited hours. And typically if people are that pushed for time and, we're the world's worst about self-diagnosis.
Yes.
I pulled a muscle in my arm. That's what it is. I was gardening too long. That's what it is. And but there are so many of us that that rationalize that. The fact that they looked at your EKG and said was a testament to the fact that you were so active and you were so healthy. And I know that when women hear this, it's like an automatic concern of if somebody like Tamikia, who's eating well and taking care of her body and doing CrossFit, has a heart attack, you can certainly understand the numbers for the rest of us. What a lot of women don't know is that about, a great percentage of the heart attacks that happen, especially in women, happen when you only have a 50% blockage. Mm-hmm. So if you go in for, say, an EKG just to get it checked out, if you don't have a 70% or better blockage, unless there's an electrical anomaly going on, that's really not going to tell them what they need to know. So if you have less than that, if you have about a 50% blockage, and not to scare anybody, but sadly, most people in their mid-50s, mid-40s to 50s, they have a 50% blockage. Mm-hmm. That's frightening.
And, it's really frightening because when I did go to the doctor and he told me that I had a blockage, my blockage was 85%. I had 2 EKGs that showed nothing, no cholesterol issues at all. Mm-hmm. So, blessed is definitely what I am, blessed.
And that often is what happens, is that there is a trauma, because when you talk about a woman's arteries, they're smaller than a thin piece of spaghetti. You're not talking about a whole lot of room there. So if you have some soft plaque there and something happens that causes that to rupture, it could be a bad virus. It could be a trauma. It could be a lot of stress. Whatever causes that plaque to rupture. And then when you go from having, say, a very slight blockage, maybe 50%, there's a trauma, it causes that rupture, it causes that blockage. You go from 50 to 85 to 90, just like that. And that's when you have the heart attack. And so I know in the case of our dear friend Bob Harper, and this is something that we've been very keen on for several years now, and when we're talking to women, especially as they get into their 40s and we have the conversation about what their risk factors are, family history being a big part of that, we want them to go to the next level to do advanced screenings, to get the coronary artery calcium scan, to do the advanced lab work, and to check that lipoprotein little a. And in the case of Bob, and I know Randy and some other friends that I've had who've had heart attacks at an early age in their 40s, that lipoprotein little a, it was elevated. Their C-reactive protein was elevated. But too many times in a basic heart health screening, those things aren't checked. And if you don't know they're there, you don't know truly what your risk was. Did you ever go back and have yours checked just to see if that was a part of it?
I did, and it was elevated. And it's interesting that you say that, because after I met you at the Survivors Have Heart, you told me about tests that can be done for your children. So now that I know this was a part of my genetic makeup and it can potentially impact my children, the first thing I did when I was well was call their pediatrician and say, hey, I need a lipoprotein A, I need this, I need that. And they were like, what? Like, what are you talking about? And why do we need this? And I'm like, no, Sheila said, I need to get these kids tested for all these things to make sure they're not going to have the same situation like me. I want them to have a choice to be proactive in their lifestyle versus this happening to them. So I did. I got all of my children, even my oldest son. I said, everybody's going to the doctor. Everybody's getting checked. Everybody needs a EKG. We did the whole nine, because for me, I didn't have a choice because I wasn't educated. I didn't know the risk factors that I had. If I did, I'm sure I could have made some lifestyle changes. And I wanted to make sure my children had an opportunity to understand that they are at risk, what those risks are, and have an opportunity to make some lifestyle changes while they're young.
And that's when you do it.
Yeah.
Primary prevention. If nobody hears anything else that we say, primary prevention has to start in childhood.
Yes.
Because that's when heart disease actually begins, is in childhood. Heart health then can begin in childhood. But primary prevention has to start when we're young. Otherwise, by the time we get in our 40s and 50s, and we already have a couple of risk factors for heart disease, we're already on that path. And I know the latest statistics for most women, especially women of color, by the time they are 20,
yes,
they already have at least one risk factor for heart disease.
Yes.
They already do. And the younger we can get to them and have that conversation. I was talking with somebody earlier today, and there was a report that came out today, and you mentioned your cousin who passed away from a heart attack had a heart attack giving birth. And what they're finding is there is an increase in women of childbearing years having heart attacks through their pregnancies or postpartum. So most of us think of, heart attacks being something that happens to older women.
Older people, yes.
But it's not. It's happening to younger women. And so it's important that we have this conversation, with our kids and our grandchildren. My grandchildren hear this all the time. But, to have that dialogue. So I know when we were in the Survivors Have Heart time, part of that experience, and that to me, you were only 3 months in. I had been a survivor for a number of years, but to me, that was one of the most healing experiences of my life. Do you know, I had my heart attack in 2012. That was 7 years had gone by, and my husband and I had never stopped to have the conversation about the impact that it not just had on me, but had on him. And that was the first time we'd ever really opened up and shared about that. It was, and I know we were all just bawling and writing in our journals, booing. But what was it like for Will? Because I'm sure Will is looking at his healthy wife going, worried that you were going to come out on the other side. What was that like for him?
Very, very scary. We have such an active family. We had, our daughter was in dance and track, and our son's in basketball. So we had to split the duties running the kids around. And when this happened, everything just stopped. but the kids' lives still continued around us. So he had to make other plans for all of our children. And it was devastating for him. Like, okay, this is my queen. Like, is she going to come through on the other side? And it wasn't until Survivors Have Heart and we got an opportunity to share those raw emotions and feelings that we both actually even talked about it. So it had been 3 months and we were just basically getting through, me surviving, me getting better, me getting well. And we had really never talked about it. So it was a very emotional time to hear him say that he was afraid. My big, strong husband was afraid that he may lose me. It was very emotional for both of us to just say those words. And it also made us realize how blessed we are to be on the other side, because some people don't have an opportunity to sit and have these conversations or even to take another breath. So it was very emotional for us to have that first conversation be amongst a team of people who've had the same experience as us. But it also showed me too that we were not alone. It was meant for us to have that conversation with other people who are heart attack survivors so we can have the support that we needed. Because we don't know anybody who's had a heart attack that we've had conversations with. So it was a great opportunity to have some support around us while we navigated having this very hard conversation about how it impacted us and how it made us feel.
I know, just sitting around, the table, eating together, breaking bread. And my thought was, for you, you were just coming through like rehabilitation from all of it. You're still processing what happened, why it happened, what life is going to be like. For me during that period, I understood that 42% of women that have a heart attack as young as you and I did, we don't live past 1 year. I mean, that was a sobering thought, that I had 1 year to get my life back. And I was thinking about you and listening to you and Will share. And like you said, we were all doing major boo-hoos, and, we still have our journals. And every now and then I go back and read what my husband wrote. But it was a very sobering time, during that time, but we're here.
Yes.
We're survivors, we're champions, and sharing that message. And I am so grateful that you are here and that you share that message, because, for a while we were starting to see more women really understand that heart disease is our number one killer. It is our biggest health threat. But in the last few years, and I guess we could blame it on the pandemic, I'm not sure why. I wish I understood why. But there we go. Only about half, I think it's like 46% of women know what you and I just talked about. Women of color, it's less than 40%. We have got to get this message out, because we have over 300,000 of us dying every year from a largely preventable disease. Mm-hmm. And I know there's some extenuating factors. In your case, you had a family history. You had a genetic history that you knew nothing about, but those tests, are available. So it's been 3 years almost since your cardiac.
Yes.
Almost. You'll be celebrating your rebirthday soon. I always celebrate my rebirthday. That's a big deal. I never really paid much attention to my birthday. Just, another year. Yeah. But my rebirthday, I celebrate that thing. Let me tell you, I got on the other side.
In everything you do, there's an understanding of the greater good. And that greater good ain't always you or the people in this company. It's really the communities where we live every day. We're here for the greater good of the community, not just the survival of this business.
But I know with the Survivors Have Heart, you've had some fun in the last few months. You got to go to the Big Apple and get some pictures made. Tell us about that experience.
I did. So as I became a part of Survivors Have Heart, a champion for Survivors Have Heart, I've been asked to be a mentor to other individuals who have heart attacks and are in the process of surviving and learning how to thrive. And as a part of that, I got an opportunity to go to New York to have a photo shoot, to meet with Bob Harper, who actually did the photo shoot. It was amazing. I took my oldest son, Jarvis, with me. We spent the weekend. We felt like we were celebrities there the weekend because they flew us up, they picked us up in the cars, they took us to and from. And just being there with Bob, seeing, how much he's grown from his heart attack, and then seeing other individuals who've had heart attacks be a part of this journey that I'm now on with them, it was amazing. It was amazing. I'll never forget that opportunity. And then the photos were just like, wow. When I see the strength that he was able to capture in my photos, it made me realize how blessed I am and how thankful I am to be on the other side of this, and that I am a survivor and I can thrive. And I think my life today has more meaning because I'm able to educate other women and educate my community and educate my tribe. I have a tribe of some very close friends and family that I do life with. And I make sure that they understand that they need to make sure they're taking care of themselves and knowing their health history and eating right and let's work out and doing all those things. So yeah, that experience in New York was amazing to me. And I'm looking forward to being able to give back to other people who need someone to kind of push them and say, you know what, you got this. You can get through this. I did it. You can do it as well. So it was an amazing opportunity.
I love your photos. I mean, it just exudes strength. And when I look at it, I see a warrior. You just, I don't know how Bob did it, but it just kind of, and when you all see the photos, you're gonna see what I mean. You just have an inner strength about you in those photos, like, don't mess with me. I will beat you down. Do not mess. And I'm talking about heart disease. It's like, you didn't win then, you're not going to win now. It just has it's such an awesome strength. And I love the fact that they were in black and white, because I thought that was just so artistic, but it's Bob. So but he did a fabulous job. So what has changed for you? I mean, having a cardiac event is one thing, surviving it is another, but what changed in your life?
I continue to monitor what I eat. I continue to work out. One thing that I did do to remind me that I am a survivor, and I started to wear a shirt today to show it, but I have a huge tattoo that I had designed for me on my shoulder. And it has a big lotus flower on the back that stands for resilience. And it has other flowers and butterflies that shows strength. And that is a constant reminder to me. And my grandmother would always say, give me my flowers now. So I wear my flowers on my shoulder. And when people see my tattoo in the store or wherever I'm at, and they say, wow, that's a beautiful tattoo, it gives me an opportunity to do some advocacy work, to say, hey, these flowers show me that I am still on the side of the land of the living. I'm still here and I survived a heart attack. And I get an opportunity to share my story and also to talk to people about knowing their health history as well. So that's one of the huge things that I did for myself. I hate needles, but it was in my mind that this is something I need to do for me, to make me aware and to, as a constant reminder that I am still here, and give me my flowers now while I can enjoy them.
Oh, I love your tattoo. I just think it's awesome. I haven't gotten brave enough to do it yet. I noticed one of our other fellow Survivors Have Heart champions has gotten the Survivors Have Heart logo, and I'm just thinking, okay, we're all going to have to go.
Come on, Sheila, you got this. You got this. We'll do it together. Let's do it.
I will have to come to Charlotte. We will have to do that. So, when I know the first time I ever spoke in front of a group of women after my heart attack, I was asked that question: what changed? What changed in you? And I think for me, it really made me focus on who and what is really important. Yeah. So having a near-death experience will give you a clarity like Nothing else
No other.
can.
Yeah, I agree. It surely makes you appreciate waking up every day
Hmm.
because you know that somebody didn't. And for whatever reason, God still has me here because there's work that I still need to do. And a part of that work is advocacy to make sure that everyone understands their risk factors and what's going on in our families, that we stuff that we don't want to talk about. Even whether it's good or bad, we still need to talk about it. So yeah, it makes me appreciate life, appreciate family, appreciate my friends. One of the things that was very special to me, all of my close friends know that I love to eat, I love to cook, I love to entertain. And this may sound simple, but one of the things that I remember saying to myself, how am I going to feed my family for 3 months while I recover? That's huge for me. And I know a lot of that has to do with the way I was, brought up. But that was something that was so huge for me. But my tribe of friends put together a menu and a rotation to where my husband didn't have to worry about cooking. We had meals for 2 to 3 months out. And that was a huge burden that was uplifted off of my chest. So I didn't have to worry about making sure my family could eat, because I'm the one that normally, provides the meals for them. So that helped me not only just be able to focus on my physical health, but my mental health, because that huge burden was uplifted off of my plate. So yeah, it really makes me value my friendships and those people that are close to me, because I know that they love me and they're here to support me. And I'm here to support them, whatever they may need. So yeah, I value life a whole lot more these days.
It is truly precious, and time is such a gift. It really is. Now, I knew how it affected Will because we all shared with one another, but how did it affect your children?
Oh goodness. They went from my mom went to the gym this morning. Now she's in the hospital waiting to have open heart surgery. Like really? Like my mom? They were scared. I remember when they came to the hospital to see me while I was in the hospital waiting, and just to see the scared look on their little faces, they were like, oh my gosh, is this going to be the last time I'm going to see you? So it was very emotional for them. But it also helped them put in perspective that they need to make some lifestyle changes. Even though I made sure I ate the way I needed to eat, kids like fast food, they
Mhm.
like the sweets, they like all the junk food stuff. So I'm like, listen, we have to be a healthy family together. We have to live together and be healthy for each other. So they had some lifestyle changes that needed to happen for them as well. So it was a lot of change for everyone, and us taking care of one another in that way.
And you have such a beautiful family. I love following all the pictures on Facebook. So before we open it up to questions from those who have joined us here on the Zoom or on the Facebook Live, we've got a number of people watching there too. What advice do you have for women?
So there are three major things that I want to make sure that women know. One, you have to know your health history, not just your history, but your family's health history, because there may be some risk factors that you are not aware of that you need to be aware of to make sure you can have a healthy lifestyle or choose some healthy lifestyle options. And two, women, we don't have to be superwoman. If something's going on with your body that's unusual, don't just pass it off and be like, oh, it's something else, or rationalize that it's something else. Make sure you go to your doctor and talk about what you're seeing. That's really, really important. And then three, make sure that you are attending your regular physicals and that you have a relationship with your doctor. It was my relationship with my doctor that saved my life, because she knew me and she saw me every single year. And I always had a good health report, that when I came to her with something that was so unusual, she knew that was unlike me. So it was that relationship with my doctor that helped me, get to a place where I didn't go home, go to sleep, and didn't wake up again. So those are three major things that I want women to know, that are very, very important.
And when you think about it, had you gone home and just gone to sleep, we might not be talking today.
We would not be talking today.
That gave me chills.
I know. And that's exactly what I was planning on doing, because I'm that girl. I'm that superwoman that pushes through any and everything, no matter what. I'm pushing through because I'm that girl. So thank God I didn't do it that day, and I actually listened.
I am so glad you did. Well, we have a couple of people with us. I'm watching the Facebook Live. If anybody here in Zoom wants to ask Tamikia a question, me a question, this is our chance to chat. Feel free to, you can come off of your, turn your camera on and your mic on, and feel free to ask us questions. And for those of you, while we're pausing here for a minute, Tamikia, and I'm going to send you one of these too. For those of you who joined us in Zoom, I'm trying to open up something while I'm talking. Multitasking has not been my friend today, has it? So one of my favorite things, because the Heart to Heart Foundation, we are community partners with the Heart Truth. And in 2002, the Heart Truth launched a campaign to help increase awareness about women's heart health. That's where the red dress comes from. So we wear red dresses to remind ourselves about making those healthy lifestyle choices and how important it is for our hearts. And so everybody on the call who has joined us via Zoom, I have your email address. I'm going to send you an email tomorrow and ask you for your shipping address. I'm going to send you one of our little red dress pins and one of my heart awareness bracelets. I almost sleep in this thing. I wear it all the time to remind me to make heart healthy choices. It's kind of like my Jiminy Cricket, on my wrist, where I go, do I really want to eat that?
Send your girl over here one of those.
I'm going to send you one. I have lost count how many of these we have given out, but they're cute, got little hearts. But I'm going to send you a pin. So I'm going to send this to you as a thank you to, and to those of you who joined us here on Zoom. We're going to give you a minute or two. I'm going to look here and see if anybody has any questions. All right, so while we're waiting for somebody to unmute to ask a question, we have a few minutes left. I'll ask a question. So eating plans, as a health coach, that's typically a lot of the conversation that we have is people trying to figure out how to eat. What is your favorite? Do you have like a go-to plan, or how do you handle that?
So there's a couple of things that I like to prepare. I do a lot of meal prepping on Sundays for the week. So one of the things I like to cook is stuffed bell peppers. And what I'll do with that is I'll take ground turkey and I'll season it with whatever my seasonings are, but also like some taco seasoning in the turkey meat. And then I'll take that with like a fourth a cup of rice and mix it together. And then I'll stuff those in the cut bell peppers in half and put those in the oven for about 45 minutes and bake them. I may even put a little cheese on the top. And those are really, really good, very health conscious. So that's one of my go-tos. And then I also really like chicken thighs. And I make some really good cauliflower mashed potatoes and maybe some broccolini, or some asparagus. Those are some of my go-tos.
That sounds good.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's the thing that we try to encourage, because I know I was talking with one of our coaching clients the other day, and he's like, can't you just give me an app? Give me a plan. And I said, it's really not that complicated. We like to make it complicated. And the diet industry likes to make it complicated because they can sell you plans and supplements and shakes and things to make you think you need all of those things to be healthy. But you and I both know really what you need to do is eat real food.
Yeah.
Food that nourishes your body. Foods that it doesn't come in a box and you can't pronounce the words and you don't know what's in it. Oh, goodness. Okay. So Trina, who sent us a note on Facebook Live, said, great presentation. Definitely learned something new. We're glad. Awesome. If anybody has any questions, feel free to pop in. I guess we were pretty thorough. So after your open heart surgery, I mean, I have been, my husband's story. I've been on the other side of the conversation with somebody that couldn't be stented, that had to have open heart surgery.
Yeah.
And it will just knock the breath out of you. I can't imagine having been told you had a heart attack and now we've got to open your chest.
Yes.
Were you able to go back, or how soon were you able to go back to your fitness routine, or did that change at all?
Actually, it didn't change.
Really?
So, yeah. So I went to, I was very anxious to go to cardiac rehab. So I went to cardiac rehab. My biggest fear was that my heart was going to fail again. So I was concerned that if I got my heart rate up, like, what is this heart going to do now? Like, you guys have got in there and messed around with it. Is it going to fail me? Am I going to be able to work out? Am I going to have another heart attack? Like, what's really going to happen when I push myself? So I went to cardiac rehab for, I want to say 12 weeks, maybe. And while I'm in rehab, I'm the only youngest thing in there. And I'm on the treadmill running as hard as I can run. And the people around me are looking at me like, what in the world is going on with her? Because we're still walking. So one of the things that I really had to do was push myself in a safe space, because they had me, hooked up to all the probes. I was doing squats. I was doing lunges. I was running on the treadmill. I really pushed myself in that environment just to make sure that my heart was going to hold out when I did go back to boot camp. So I was able to go back to boot camp, which was awesome. And I still do boot camp now, which is awesome. That's just what I prefer. But it took me a while to get my mind right, that I can still do this and that my heart is not going to fail again. So yeah, I'm still able to do that now, and I still enjoy it now.
That is great. I bet you scared the daylights out of those nurses the first time you did that.
Oh my goodness. First they were like, well, just walk on the treadmill. I'm like, listen, I don't need to be walking on the treadmill. Can I get a little bit of run? Okay, just run just a little. So they had to modify the whole training program for me to fit where I was. I'm like, listen, we've been walking for a week now. Can I get up to speed a little bit on this treadmill? So yeah, they watched me and monitored me, because I was changing their program from what they already had me scheduled. I'm like, you need to individualize this program, because I'm coming in here, I'm ready to get this train moving. I got stuff to do.
You are my fierce friend, that's for sure. So Yvette has a question for you. She said, can you talk about what spices you use now with your cooking? Did you have to change totally? And are you using specific ingredients when you cook? Does the flavor change? And how does your family deal with those changes? Sounds like Yvette knows what she's talking about.
Yes, Yvette knows what she's talking about, because she come over here and we be throwing down in this kitchen. I use a lot of garlic. I've always cooked with garlic. My husband say I put garlic in my cereal, which is not true, but I use enough garlic on everything, because garlic makes everything taste just wonderful. I use a lot of stuff that does not have salt. There's a lot of salt-free seasonings. You really have to watch the salt content in a lot of seasonings, because that salt and sodium is not what you need when you're trying to keep your cholesterol and your blood pressure at a certain point. So any seasonings that you can use, and don't be afraid to over season, because you still want to be able to taste your food as long as it doesn't have a whole lot of salt in it. So I would say, use the seasoning sparingly if it has salt, but I use a lot of seasoning that don't have salt in them, so I can over season my food and still have a taste to it.
Mrs. Dash is an awesome invention if you are trying to cut down on your sodium. If you have high blood pressure, you have got to watch that sodium intake. And just another tidbit, if you eat out a lot, you're getting a whole lot of added sodium. So become a label reader. You don't need more than 2,300 milligrams of sodium a day. And if you have high blood pressure, really you need to go less. So that sodium intake is so important. But what you're talking about, getting back to cooking and eating real food so you can watch what's going into your food. Because we say, what you put into your body and what you do for your body.
Yes.
That's where it begins and ends. And the great thing is it's never too late to start.
I agree.
If you're young, if you're old, you can always start making those positive lifestyle changes to improve your heart health. You look awesome. You really do. I think you got a definite glow about you. And I know when I met you, you were just 3 months after, having a heart attack and open heart surgery, and you were still recuperating. I think you look healthier today. You would never look at you and say, that's the face of heart disease.
Well,
Wouldn't know it. Would not know it.
God is good. Yes.
God is good. And you have done fabulous, and you're a wonderful champion for women. And I thank you for all that you're doing with Survivors Have Heart and being a mentor. And I know, we've all gone, those of us that have survived, we know what cardiac rehabilitation is like, but having that person that you can connect to on a really true, genuine level to help you get through it, that means everything.
It does. It does.
It truly does. So I'm looking to see if we have any. I don't see any other questions. So what I'm going to do, Tamikia, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Sheila.
Oh my gosh, I've been wanting.
Always good to see you.
I've been wanting to do this for a while. So this is awesome. And I'm going to kind of close this out here as we're winding down. I'm going to do something because it's Heart Month, and I love giving things away. Things that'll help you in your heart health journey, little pins, things that will remind you of how precious your heart is and to take really good care of it. So what I'm going to do is I am going to try to share my screen. We'll see if technology is my friend right now. It has been questionable today. I've got some free downloads for you. All during Heart Month, what we have really been focusing on is self-care begins with your heart. If you take care of your heart, like Tamikia was talking about, eating right, exercising, taking care of the body that God gave you, knowing your risk factors and working on those things, that's where it begins. Because when you take care of your heart, you can also prevent so many other chronic diseases, even several forms of cancer. So let's start with our heart, and we're going to talk about self-care. So I'm going to give you some downloads. I'm actually doing some special programs for private groups, including some parent groups, on what I call traffic light eating. And it's using something, and my 3-year-old grandson knows what a traffic light is and what green, yellow, red means. But this is a very easy way of figuring out what foods to eat without measuring, without counting calories, without having to have complicated meal plans. You just learn green means go, and you can eat as much of that as you want. Yellow is you can have them every day, but you need to watch your portion sizes. And of course, red is stop, whoa. You need to make sure, yep, you got that one. You need to make sure you're doing those as a treat, very limited, and based on what your numbers are, will depend on what you consume. It's a great way of teaching your children how to eat healthy, but I teach adults to use this system. This is the system that I use whenever I am shopping or I'm ordering food or I'm eating out. This is the program that I use in my brain of where does that food fall and how much of it can I have. I've also included a food additives to avoid. So as you're becoming a prolific label reader, you can look at those food additives and know if you see those in your products, those are additives you need to avoid. If it comes in a box, a bag, or a bottle, you need to know what that label says, and also a smart shopping list to help you divide that up, and it is a fillable form. So I am going to pause. We have like a minute or so left. It's almost 8 o'clock, and I promised we would be out of here by 8. I'm going to pause and let you scan that QR code. For those of you who joined us on Zoom, I will email you the link to this in case you missed it. On Facebook, I'll put the link on Facebook in our Facebook group, and you can download all of those sheets for free. Those are some of the materials that we give to our health coaching clients, but it is Heart Month, and I want everybody to have these because it's a really easy way of managing your health. So hopefully everybody has that. All right, I'm going to stop sharing the screen. It is 8 o'clock. Thank you all so much. Tamikia, thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. This was awesome.
I look forward to our next Survivors Have Heart get together. I miss our weird family, as Randy calls
I know.
We'll have to explain the inside joke for that. But we're like Randy's weird older sisters. So
that's right.
But look forward to seeing everybody. But thank you, dear, so much. Thank you for what you do to inspire and encourage women every day. Love you.
Thank you as well. Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
Happy Heart Month, everybody. We'll see you next time.